We shall now have a moment of silence, meditation, and prayers. Thank you. You may be seated. Honored members, you are all welcome. I would like to greet the following members who are in attendance. Morena Moholo, Morena Montwedi Mota, Morena Sibiri Mulife, Morena Lefa Mopedi, Morena Retsidi Sitwe Mopedi, Morena Setsehetso Mukhali, Morena Paulus Muloi. NCOP members that are here, the Mangaung Metro Executive Mayor, the Executive Mayors and Speakers of all other municipalities, the Director General of the Free State, Dr. Mulifinyana Pera, SAPS Acting Commissioner, Correctional Services Commissioner, Salga President, Salga Provincial Chair, members of Salga that are here, former Premier Mentomela, former MECs, Memunteng Tiu Tembeni Mangisa, William Bulwane, Makalo Mohali, Honour members, let me take this opportunity to welcome the Honourable Premier, Meletsua Matai, the Honourable Deputy Speaker, Mayor Nolita Ndungane, the Honourable Chair of Chairs, Ndate Thabo Meko, the Honourable Chief Whip of the Legislature, Ndate Upa Khwabane, the Leader of Government Business, Ndate Ketso Makume, and all honourable members of the Free State Legislature present here today. Honour members, in line with the resolution of the multi-parties whips committee, all proceedings shall be suspended until the Honourable MEC for Finance has tabled both the 2025-2026 Special Adjustment Appropriation Bill and the 2026-2027 Appropriation Bill. This implies that the business for the House today shall be the tabling of the 2020-2025 and 2026 Special Adjustment Appropriation Bill and the tabling of the 2026-2027 Appropriation Bill as in 27 subsection 2 of the Public Finance Management Act, number 1 of 1999, and Rule 184 to 188 of the Standing Rules and Orders, the 10th edition of 2022. We now proceed to motions. The Acting Secretary shall read motion 1.
That leave be granted for the tabling of the 2025-2026 Special Adjustment Appropriation Bill, B2 of 2026.
The Honorable MEC for Finance, Ndate Makume. Any discussions? Any objection? Leave granted. The Honorable MEC may table the 2025-2026 Special Adjustment Appropriation Bill.
Honorable Speaker, Ndate Mkolisi Tukwana.
Bring the bill. So that is to address. Bring the bill. The Acting Secretary shall read the bill for the first time.
B2, a Special Adjustment Appropriation Bill, B2 of 2026.
I shall wait the audio mass. Okay. The Honorable MEC may now address the House.
Honorable Speaker, Mr. Mkolisi Tukwana, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Menolita Ndungwane, the Honorable Premier, Makwin Litsuwa Matai, the members of Executive Council, members of the Free State Legislature, Executive Mayors and Councillors, Director General of the Province, all HODs, and the Chief Executive of Public Entities, the special guests, people of the Free State, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, and my beautiful learners and educators present today, Dumela. Honorable Speaker, let me thank you for this opportunity to table the 2025-2026 Special Adjustment Budget. This adjustment provides two matters, namely allocation for funds for implementation of early retirement and voluntary exit program, and proposed allocation of reprioritized budgets. Honorable Speaker, members, over the years, we have alluded to the need to manage the compensation of employees bill, which is crowding out other key service delivery priorities. As part of dealing with these fiscal challenges, we have always alluded to early retirement as part of our strategies. The National Treasury took a decision to allow for a second window of early retirement and voluntary exit program. The program is planned for 2026-2027 financial years. Honorable Speaker, the province took this opportunity and submitted 526 applications, and all the applications have been approved by the National Treasury. Honorable members, the program comes with financial implications, namely penalty for early retirement and financial incentives for applicants. The National Treasury will fund penalty for early retirement, which is paid over Government Employee Pension Fund, and the incentive cost of the program. However, costs related to pro rata service bonus, kept leave, unused current annual leaves, and resettlement of officials where applicable and in line with the departmental policies will be incurred by the province. Speaker, on the 9th of March 2026, the National Treasury issued Gazette number 54293 of 2026, outlining the allocations of the provinces for implementation of the early retirement and voluntary exit program. In this regard, the Free State province is allocated 217.4 million for payment of incentives costs to the approved applications. These funds are allocated in the 2025-2026 financial year and are divided as follows. The agricultural and rural development is allocated 8.2 million. Community service, roads and transport is allocated 1.4 million. Economic development and tourism will receive 5.6 million. Education is allocated 110 million. Fleet management is receiving 3.2 million. The health gets 64.3 million. Human settlement receive 4.2 million. The public works and infrastructure will spend 6.9 million. Social development allocated 1.3 million. Honorable Speaker, these funds are allocated as part of the provincial equitable share and they will remain in the provincial revenue fund in the next financial year. The departments and trading entity can now start with exiting the affected officials. The proposed reprioritization of the in-year budget and proposed allocations. Honorable members, we continue to experience in-year budget pressures, particularly in relation to compensation of employees and municipal services. As the financial year draws to a close, we assess the spending patterns of the departments to identify potential under-expenditure. This review focused mainly on earmarked funding, including the infrastructure enhancement allocation. Honorable Speaker, we were able to identify the amount of 56.7 million from 6 departments. The affected departments were consulted through meetings and engagements with the chief financial officers, the forum of heads of the departments, and MECs themselves. The proposals were presented to ESCO and were approved as tabled. The following departments were affected by the said reprioritization: the Office of the Premier, 15 million, the Provincial Treasury, 17.5 million, the Health, 13.4 million, COCTA, 5 million, Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation, 1.4 million, and Agricultural, Rural Development and Environmental Affairs, 4.4 million. Honorable members, the available funds from reprioritization amount to 56.7 million. Added to this is an amount of 30 million for direct charges, remuneration for members as per Financial Management of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act. Therefore, the total amount for allocation is 86.7 million and is allocated as follows. The provincial legislature will receive 30 million as a direct charge from the public, from Parliament. And then the Public Works and Infrastructure is allocated 36 million for municipal services, and the Department of Education is allocated 20.73 million for COEs pressures. Honorable Speaker, I hereby table the 2025-2026 Special Adjustment Bill, Bill number 2 of 2026.
Be proposed.
I propose that the matter be referred to the committee.
Any discussion? But you have it. Any objection? Approve the bill stands referred to the Portfolio Committee on Public Accounts and Finance for consideration and report back to the House. The Acting Secretary shall now read motion 2.
That leave be granted for the tabling of the 2026-2027 Appropriation Bill, B3 of 2026.
Honorable Mr. Makume. Any discussion? How do we say Father? Studio Gisane, I cannot do that. Any objection? Leave granted. The Honorable MEC may table the 2026-2027 Appropriation Bill. The acting secretary shall read the bill for the first time.
Appropriation Bill B3 of 2026.
The Honorable Ms. Simena address the House.
Greetings once more, Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, the Premier, members of the Executive Council, Marena Mahulu, Marena Kaufela Ating, Director General, heads of the departments, special guests, people of the Free State, learners and educators present, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, Dumelang, Molweni, Khuyemore, good morning. Honorable Speaker, I'm very grateful for the opportunity granted by this august House to table the Free State Provincial Budget. As members of this House, we will recall the Minister of Finance tabled the national budget on the 25th of February 2026, setting out a financial framework that is aimed at stimulating economic recovery, improving revenue collection, and strengthening public service delivery. I therefore rise today to fulfill our legal obligations as regulated by Section 27(2) of the Public Finance Management Act, Act number 1 of 1999, as amended, which read as follows. The MEC for Finance in a province is required to table the provincial annual budget for a financial year in the provincial legislature no later than 2 weeks after the tabling of the national annual budget. However, the Minister of Finance may approve an extension of time for tabling of a provincial budget should circumstances necessitate such a deviation. Honorable members, while we are gathered here today to table the 2026 budget, it is equally befitting that we pause to honor the life of a distinguished son of the Free State and son of South Africa, a veteran of our liberation struggle and a devoted servant of the people, Ntate Musuwa Gerald Patrick Teralekota. On behalf of the Free State Provincial Government, we extend our deepest condolences to the Lekota's family. Your loss is profound, but it is also shared by the people of this province and the nation as a whole. Comrade Lekota belonged to the courageous generation that refused to accept injustice of apartheid as permanent. In the face of repression and imprisonment, he chose the path of resistance and dedicated his life to the struggle for freedom, dignity, and justice for all South Africans. For the people of the Free State, he was more than a national leader. He was one of our own, shaped by the soil of this province. He carried within him the resilience and courage of its people, always prepared to speak truth to power and stand firm in his convictions. Even in democracy, he remained committed to the ideals of ethical leadership, accountability, and principled public service. His life reminds us that leadership is not merely about holding office, but about serving the people with integrity and courage. Honorable members, on the occasion of the funeral of Ntate Teralekota, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, the Secretary General of the African National Congress, reflected that as follows, I quote, Comrade Teralekota possessed that rare quality of a genuine revolutionary. He understood that freedom must continually be defended, even after it has been attained. He believed firmly that democracy requires constant vigilance and honest debate. From the earliest chapters of his life, he understood that liberation of the oppressed required discipline, organization, and sacrifice, close quote. To the Lekota's family, we thank you for sharing him with the nation. As we bid farewell to this son of the Free State, may his legacy continue to inspire future generations to pursue justice, defend democracy, and serve South Africa with unwavering support and principles. Honorable members, this year marks the 14th anniversary of Grade 12 Annual Budget Essay Competition, which we proudly host in partnership with the Department of Education. This competition has become an important tradition. Over the years, it has provided many learners with the opportunity to the same, to gain a deeper understanding of how government budgeting works. At the same time, it has given us government valuable insight into the aspirations, ideas, and perspectives of the young people in the province. Honorable Premier, Invitations were extended to secondary schools across all 5 districts of the province. And we are pleased to report that 145 learners participated in the 2026 grade 12 annual budget essay competition. The topic for this year essay was Budget for a Green Economy to Stimulate Economic Growth and Job Creation. We are proud to recognize and announce that the learners who attain top 5 positions in this year's competition are also present here. Matshego Muchulugi, as they stand up, Motshedi Potsane, Palesa Litiba, Letabo Mutofo, and Keleto Matsuani, coming from Siamahale Secondary School and Kalkas Secondary School, Sechaba Semaketi Combined School, Itabeleng Secondary School, and Lukhulong Secondary School. Here are my learners. We can give them a round of applause. Thank you. You may be seated. The overall winner of 2026 grade 12 essay competition is Mutsidisi Potsane from Itabeleng Secondary School, who participated, who was honored yesterday during our prize giving ceremony. Honorable Speaker, allow me to convey our sincere appreciation to our valued sponsors, All Mutual, Nedbank, and Vodacom, for their invaluable and sustained support for over the years. Their unwavering commitment has been instrumental in enabling this initiative and ensuring this continued.
Can you just have a seat? My apologies, honorable members. This is other agent. There is a request for the owner of JDL 436, a Free State Ford, a Ford Ranger. The car has been broken into and the perpetrators have been arrested. You are needed by the police outside. The number is the JDL 436 FSL Ford Ranger. Thank you. You may continue.
We also wish to thank all the matriculants who participated in competition, as well as their dedicated educators who supported and guided them throughout this journey. They are all the winners. To the class of 2026, we wish you every success in your final year. Work hard, remain focused, and you will surely reap the rewards of your efforts. Honorable members, the global economy is expected to remain relatively stable, growing by 3.3% in 2026 and 3.2% in 2027. However, the outlook remains uncertain due to shifting trade policies, industrial strategies, evolving economic relations, and ongoing geopolitical tensions, which I will come later to them. For South Africa and the Free State Province, economic prospects continue to be shaped by the global volatile and domestic constraints. The National Treasury projects economic growth of 1.6% in 2026, rising gradually to 2% by 2028. This outlook is supported by fiscal strategy aimed at maintaining the macroeconomic stability and advancing reforms in electricity, transport, and water to stimulate investment and job creation. While these projections indicate improving economic performance, risks remain. The outbreak of the foot and mouth disease poses a potential threat to the provincial economy, given its sensitivity to agricultural activity. Over the medium term, from 2025 to 2029, the provincial economy is expected to experience a gradual and uneven recovery. Real provincial GDP is projected to increase from 1.1% in 2025 to 2.4% by 2029, averaging 1.8% over the period. To achieve long growth, we must focus on industrialization, strengthening agricultural value chains, ensuring energy security, attracting investment, easing logistical constraints that continue to limit economic expansion. Honorable Speaker, when we explain the cost containment, as part of measures to contain provincial expenditure, the Free State has completed the revision of the Instruction Note 31. This instruction note establishes expenditure ceilings on selected categories of spending, particularly in the context of prevailing fiscal constraints. This instruction note will be reviewed on regular basis to ensure alignment with ongoing reforms to the fiscal framework and to maintain prudent financial management across the provincial administration. Honorable members, in addition to the revision of the instruction note, the National Treasury has approved a total of 526 applications of the Early Retirement and Voluntary Exit Program. Out of the said applications, 423 applications representing 80.4% originate from the Department of Education, Department of Health, and the Department of Social Development. This program is projected to yield significant net savings over the medium-term expenditure framework, estimated at 261 million in 2026-2027, 206 million in 2027-2028, and 210 million in 2028-2029. These savings will contribute meaningfully to strengthening reprioritization, particularly in the Department of Education. In our continued efforts to strengthen accountability and ensure the integrity of the provincial personnel system, we also undertook a comprehensive staff verification process across the provincial administration under the theme, who is where and where is who. Honorable members, I'm pleased to report that this process is nearing closer. All departments have concluded, with exception of 4 departments that are still in the process of finalizing their submissions, with the deadline set for 20 March 2026 by the Department of Public Service and Administration. This exercise forms part of our broader commitment to ensuring accurate personnel records, strengthening governance, and safeguarding public resources within the provincial government. On the supply chain and payments, Honorable Speaker, we wish to report that there's a slight improvement has been observed in the payment of suppliers within the prescribed 30-day period. This improvement can largely be attributed to the deliberate strategies implemented by accounting officers to address long-standing challenges, particularly accruals carried over the previous financial years. The province will continue with outreach programs aimed at supporting suppliers. These programs provide suppliers with an opportunity to report instances of non-payment or late payment of invoices through grievances mechanism established within the Free State Provincial Treasury. I want to add something. For the projects that have been well executed without any hesitant and without any question, this mechanism remains a critical tool in ensuring accountability and responsiveness. Honorable Speaker, we would also like to remind everyone that timely payment of suppliers is not only a legislative requirement, but it's also a critical driver of economic sustainability, particularly for small and emerging businesses that rely on government as a dependable client. The province, therefore, remains committed to strengthening financial discipline and restoring confidence in the public financial management. Oba sa tsebeng, lona ba rakgwebo ba banyenyane, le na le tokelo ya ho bua le lefapha lena la tsa ditjhelete hore jwetsa le re hlalosetsa ka mokgwa le tshwarwang ka teng ke mafapha a mang le ba dimasepala haholo ba sa kgoneng ho le patala tjhelete lona ka nako. Honorable Speaker, we must intensify our efforts to reduce unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. To support departments in resolving outstanding cases, the Provincial Treasury has established a transversal term contract and appointed a panel of experts. This panel will conduct assessments, determination tests, investigations, and forensic reviews related to these expenditures. The panel will support the province for a period of 36 months. Departments are therefore urged to ensure that all outstanding cases are finalized within this set period. Honorable members, in our continued effort to strengthen internal audit functions, the risk management units, and the anti-fraud and corruption initiatives within the provincial departments and public entities, Provincial Treasury has implemented several measures aimed at enhancing these critical governance areas. The following measures were implemented, amongst others: the International Fraud Awareness Week in collaboration with CUT and the Association for Certified Fraud Examiners Combined Assurance Training and Suppliers Extortion Awareness Session. The Provincial Risk Management will continue to assess the extent to which risk management strategies are implemented across departments and public entities. We will also evaluate how effectively these practices support management in making informed decisions. Our focus remains on positioning risk management as a vital tool to promote the efficiency and effective achievement of institutional objectives. The municipal finance management. Honorable members and the public of the Free State, I must acknowledge that the local government continues to face a number of challenges. However, as the provincial government, we are not standing idle. We remain firmly committed to stabilizing and strengthening the local government through coordinated interventions led by the Office of the Premier, the Department of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs, and the Provincial Treasury being in partnership. In this regard, we are currently intervening in 8 municipalities, including Mangaung Metro, in terms of Section 139 of the Constitution. Honorable members, we will recognize that the results of these interventions may not be immediate, but we are confident that we are on the right path towards turning around the state of local government in our province. To that extent, the province has deployed intervention team to these various municipalities to assist financial, institutional, governance and service delivery matters. Honorable Speaker, last year we reported that only 8 out of the 23 municipalities were able to submit the funded budgets for the 2025 financial year. This was a matter of serious concern, as a funded budget is a fundamental requirement for sound financial management and sustainable delivery of services. Municipalities that submitted unfunded budgets were therefore required to develop and submit budget funding plans. The purpose of these plans is to address the underlying financial challenges and place municipal finances on a more credible and sustainable footing. We are pleased to report that the Provincial Treasury continues to provide technical support and guidance of credible budget funding plans are properly met, and that municipalities are assisted in implementing practical and sustainable solutions to their financial constraints. Our focus is clear. We are supporting municipalities to restore financial stability, achieve funded budgets, and strengthening financial management. This work matters. It is essential for the better governance and for ensuring reliable, sustainable services for our communities. Honorable members, we have also concluded a process aimed at reducing unwanted expenditure within the local government spheres. This initiative demonstrates the province's firm resolve to take decisive action in addressing the financial challenges facing municipalities. Through these measures, we seek to promote greater financial discipline, improve efficient use of public resource, and strengthen the overall sustainability of local government and local government institutions. The financial fiscal framework. Honorable members, the total 2026 MTEF provincial fiscus amounts to 47.9 billion in 2026-2027 and 49.5 billion in 2027-2028 and 51 billion in 2028-2029. The province will spend an estimated amount of 148.5 billion over 2026 MTEF ahead. The implementation of this budget over the MTF period will be guided by the 2024 to 2029 medium-term development plan key priorities, namely inclusive growth and job creation, reducing poverty and tackling high cost of living, and lastly, building capable and ethical developmental states. Specifically, the 2026-2027 financial year budget amounts to 47.9 billion and represent an increase of 1.6% when compared to the last financial year allocation. This allocation includes equitable share of 36.7 billion, conditional grants of 9.8 billion, and provincial own revenue of 1.2 billion. Equitable share allocation constitutes 76.7% of the allocation, while conditional grants and provincial own revenue accounts for 20.6% and 2.7% respectively. Honorable Speaker, the 2026 MTEF allocation to the province came with the budget cuts occasioned by updates to the provincial equitable share formula and inflation adjustments. Specifically, the formula update resulted in the reduction of 332.6 million over the MTEF period, while the inflation adjustments reduced the provincial equitable share by 297.1 million. However, Honorable Speaker, we have received additional allocations totaling 1.7 billion, which are earmarked for frontline services. I will provide details of these allocations when we deal with allocations to various departments through their clusters. The conditional grants. Honorable Speaker, a few changes have been made to conditional grants. Most notably, funds have been reprioritized from the Provincial Roads Maintenance Grant to support the presidential employment stimulus in the 2026-2027 financial year. As a result, the province's allocation for the Provincial Roads Maintenance Grant has been reduced by 271.8 million compared to the initial 2025-2026 allocation. The total allocations for conditional grants over the 2026 MTEF period amount to 30.2 billion. The province will therefore spend more than 9.8 billion in 2026-2027, 10 billion 2027-2028, and 10.3 billion in 2028-2029. These funds are highly regulated by divisions of Revenue Act and are earmarked for implementation of socio-economic programs and projects, including infrastructure delivery. Honorable members, allow me to briefly reflect on the grants allocations per department. Health is allocated a total of 4.1 billion, which caters for, amongst others, the maintenance and delivery of the infrastructure, provision of comprehensive HIV and AIDS programs, and training of health personnel. Education is allocated 2.1 billion to address the following, amongst others: maintenance and delivery of infrastructure, provision of school nutrition, special needs schools, and early childhood development. Agricultural Department and Environmental Affairs will receive 286.3 million to provide for comprehensive support for farmers, cater for poverty relief, infrastructure development, and expanded public works programs. The Community Safety, Roads and Transport is allocated 2.1 billion for the maintenance of the provincial roads and payments of subsidy for the public bus transport services. The Human Settlement is allocated 892.5 million for the development of sustainable and integrated human settlement and upgrading of informal settlements. Sports, arts, culture and recreation will receive 240.3 million to transform urban and rural community library, infrastructure facilities and services and facilities, sports and active recreational activities. The provincial revenue collection. Honorable Speaker, mobilization of revenue remains critical for the province, especially in this environment of budget constraints. We are pleased to indicate that in the last financial year, the province surpassed the target by 17.4%. Similarly, in the current financial year, our revenue collection as at the end of January is above the norm by 4.5%. Honorable members, this revenue over collection will be strategically deployed to address key revenue-related priorities. Honorable Speaker, over the 2026 MTEF, we plan to collect 3.9 billion. However, the estimated revenue collection of the 2026-2027 financial year is just above 1.2 million, which an increase of 0.6% to the adjusted revenue estimate of 2025-2026 financial year. The budget tips submissions. Honorable Speaker, before tabling the allocations for the 2026 budget, allow me to express our sincere appreciation to South Africans, particularly the people of the Free State, for the valuable budget tips and inputs they have provided. Your contributions have enabled us to reflect more critically on the provincial budget and to ensure that it responds to the key service delivery priorities and socio-economic challenges facing our provinces. The MTEF allocations. Honorable members, allow me to now focus on the funded priorities over the medium-term period ahead. These priorities reflect on collective commitment to directing available resources towards programs and interventions that will have the greatest impact on the service delivery and the well-being of our communities. Over the MTEF period, the allocated funding will support key strategic initiatives aimed at strengthening economic growth, improving infrastructure, strengthening support to municipalities, and enhancing the quality and accessibility of public services. Our collective focus must remain on ensuring that the resources are utilized efficiently, responsibly, and in a manner that delivers tangible results for our people. Honorable Speaker, in preparation of the 2026 budget, we undertook a series of comprehensive provincial deliberations in line with the prescribed budget processes. These engagements included, among others, the two ESCO planning and budget Lekgotla sessions held in October 2025 and February 2026 meetings of the Provincial Medium-Term Expenditure Committee convened in October 2025, and the National Benchmarking Exercise chaired by the National Treasury in January 2026. The February 2026 ESCO Planning and Budget Lekgotla, in particular, provided an extensive platform to assess the province's priorities and the budget required to implement them. Consequently, the 2026 budget before this House is firmly informed by these deliberations. Allocations per cluster. The social cluster. The frontline service departments are projected to spend more than 116.2 billion over the 2026 MTEF period to fulfill their critical mandate to our people. These departments remain at the center of government service delivery efforts, ensuring that essential services reach communities across the provinces. Their mandate encompasses the provision of quality health services, education and training, and the strengthening of the social safety net, and the implementation of the programs that promote social cohesion and community development. Honorable Speaker, these departments collectively account for 77.8% of the 2026-2027 provincial budget, reflecting government's continued commitment to prioritizing services that directly improve the well-being and the livelihoods of our citizens. Honorable members, we received 5 budget tips recommending allocations for employment of environmental health practitioners. Ms. Dimpo Mukatsani noted the National Department of Health standard of 1 EHP per 10,000 people, highlighting that same towns have none. This is a serious concern, and I trust the relevant department and municipalities will address it. The Department of Education is allocated just over 20 billion in 2026-2027, 21 billion in 2027-2028, and 21.7 28-29 year. In total, the department is estimated to spend 62.8 billion over the MTEF 2026 period. Included in the MTEF allocations are the additional amount of 543.292 million earmarked for the alleviation of budget pressures and 22.465 million for equalization of grade R educators' remunerations. Furthermore, the 2026 and 2027 allocation makes provision for 17.168 million towards the Presidential employment stimulus, and 16.640 million for the early retirement and voluntary exit program. Honorable members, the conditional grants allocated for the 2026-2027 financial year, which is already included in the total allocation, amounts to 2.1 billion. Over the MTEF period, these resources will support several key priorities of the department, amongst others, early childhood development, learning and training support material, the Grade R program, school hostel support, secondary school support, school infrastructure, which include maintenance, and the learner transport program. My colleague, Mayor and Dr. Maboya, our esteemed educator, will elaborate further on the funded priorities during the tabling of the departmental budget vote speech, particularly highlighting key interventions aimed at strengthening the education sector. The Department of Health. The department is allocated 15 billion in 2026-2027, 15.6 billion in 2027-2028, and 16.1 billion in 2028-2029. In total, the department is estimated to spend 46.9 billion over the 2026 MTEF period. The MTEF allocations make provisions for the several critical commitments. This includes the carry-through costs associated with the appointment of unemployed doctors, the procurement of beds and the linen for our healthcare facilities, as well as the payment of outstanding accruals. These allocations are essential to ensure the continued strengthening of our healthcare system and the effective service delivery of services to our communities. Conditional grants allocation for 2026-2027 financial year, which are already included in the allocation, amounts to 4.1 billion. The following key priorities, amongst others, are funded: improve availability of medicine and medical suppliers, strengthening primary healthcare services, laboratory services, and the blood supply and services. Infrastructure maintenance. My colleague, MEC Ntate Mahlatsi, will elaborate further on the funded priorities, including key health-related matters, during the tabling of the department budget vote speech. The Department of Social Development. The department is allocated more than 1.4 billion in 2026-2027, and 1.4 billion in 2027-2028, and 1.5 billion in 2028-2029. In total, the department is estimated to spend 4.4 billion over 2026 MTEF period. Included in the 2026-2027 financial year allocation is an amount of 6.2 billion earmarked for expanded public works program. The social development plays a critical role in strengthening the social safety net and in ensuring the provision of essential services to vulnerable members of our communities. As the challenges facing many households continue to grow, there is an increasing need for us to further strengthen our interventions. The budget before us makes provision for these important interventions, enabling the department to continue supporting and protecting those who are most in the need. The following key priorities, amongst others, are funded over the MTEF period: food relief and poverty alleviation programs, women, youth, and persons with disabilities, the prevention of substance abuse programs, fighting the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide. My colleague, MEC Hlalele, will provide further details on the funded priorities of the departments, including key social challenges, while working with the stakeholders to promote social cohesion and dignity and sustainable livelihoods. The Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation. The department is allocated 685.3 million in 2026-2027, 708.2 million in 2027-2028, and 725.5 million in 2028-2029. In total, the department is spent 2.1 billion over 2026 MTEF period. The conditional grants allocation for the 2026-2027 financial year, which is already included in the total allocation, amounts to 240.6 million. The department carries a critical responsibility in promoting social cohesion within our communities. This mandate is advanced through promotion and development of sports, arts, artists, and the culture. Honorable Speaker, it is widely known and accepted that these programs have consistently demonstrated their valuable and success in bringing together diverse communities, fostering unity, mutual understanding, and a shared sense of belonging. The budget for this department supports continuation of these programs and further provides for construction and maintenance of infrastructure such as libraries and community centers. My fellow colleague, MEC Sifuba, will provide further details on the funding priorities of the department in her budget vote speech. The economic infrastructure cluster. Honorable Speaker, strategic priority number 1 of the 2024 to 2029 medium-term development plan, together with pillar 1 of the Free State Growth and Development Plan, places strong emphasis on inclusive economic growth and job creation. Pillar 1 of the Free State Growth Development Plan further underscores the importance of sustainable rural development as a key driver of economic opportunity. This cluster, working in partnership with the private sector, is key in stimulating the provincial growth and job creation. To support these objectives, the cluster is projected to spend more than 26.3 billion over the 2026 MTEF period. Ms. Caroline Musiamo advised that the province should prioritize, among others, infrastructure investment, support for SMMEs, the enhancement of skills and vocational training, incentives for the private sector, and support for agriculture and its related value chains. We wish to assure her, all those who made similar submissions, that this budget indeed addresses many of these key priorities, although not all, that have been raised. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure is allocated just above 2.3 billion in 2026-2027, 2.4 billion in 2027-2028, and 2.5 billion in 2028-2029. In total, the department is estimated to spend more than 7.3 billion over 2026 MTEF period. Included in the 2026-2027 financial year allocation is an amount of 5.3 million earmarked for expanded public works program. Honorable members, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure carries a very important mandate in our province. It is responsible for coordinating, providing, and promoting built infrastructure, as well as ensuring effective asset management. Honorable Speaker, infrastructure investment remains a key driver of economic growth and job creation in the province. It stimulates development, supports service delivery, and creates opportunity for our people. It is therefore important that we continue to support the mandate of the department. The budget allocated provides for, amongst others, payment of municipal services, rates and taxes, and maintenance of buildings. Honorable Speaker, my esteemed colleague, MEC Manche, will clarify the priorities funded during the tabling of a budget vote speech. The Department of Community Safety, Roads and Transport. The department will receive 3.5 billion in 2026-2027, 3.3 billion in 2027-2028, and 3.3 billion in 2028-2029. In total, the department is estimated to spend more than 10.2 billion over the 2026 MTEF period. Conditional grants allocation for 2026-2027 financial year, which are already included in the allocation, amounts to more than 2.1 billion. Honorable Speaker, roads infrastructure remains a critical pillar for economic development and must continue to receive the necessary support and investment. The department carries the significant responsibility of maintaining a vast network of road infrastructure across the province. As we all know, that the roads are the heartbeat of the economy. This network includes the key economic roads that connect the province with neighboring provinces, a role that is particularly important given the central geographic position of the province. Furthermore, our province serves as a major basket of agricultural products. As such, the reliability and quality of our road infrastructure are essential to support the agricultural sector. Efficient roads enable farmers to transport goods to markets, sustain supply chains, and ensure that economic activity continues to thrive. The following key priorities, amongst others, are funded over the MTEF period: the maintenance of road infrastructure, support to public transport operators, implementation of the township revitalization program. The MEC, Ndatembalula, will elaborate on the initiatives, priorities, and funding strategies aimed at enhancing our provincial road network during his departmental budget vote speech. The Department of Agricultural, Rural Development, and Environmental Affairs. The department will receive 1 billion in 2026-2027, 1.1 billion in 2027-2028, and 1.1 billion in 2028-2029. In total, the department is estimated to spend more than 3.3 billion over the 2026 MTEF period. Conditional grants allocation for 2026-2027 financial year, which are already included in the allocation, amounts to 286.3 million. The allocation for 2026-2027 financial year and the outer years has increased significantly due to the inclusion of the Environmental Affairs Program. In this regard, the budget that has shifted amounts to 183.8 million in 2026-2027 and the 196.4 million in 2027-2028 and 203.4 million in 2028-2029. Honorable Premier, we would also like to indicate that the shifting of functions involves a substantial amount of administrative and technical work. During this process, there is a possibility that certain discrepancies or errors may arise. Should this occur, the Provincial Treasurer will work closely with the affected departments to address and correct such matters through the relevant budget processes. Honorable Speaker, the mandate of the department, as indicated earlier, is significant and entails provision of support to the agricultural sector in the province, with a view to optimizing productivity and economic growth within the sector. This sector remains vibrant and has proven itself over the years in relation to its contribution to regional gross-domestic product. It is labor-intensive and it has a strong potential for labor absorption and thus must be supported for the benefit of the province. Honorable members, we continue facing the challenges posed by the foot and mouth disease. It is therefore imperative that all key stakeholders work closely with the department in combating this serious threat. We urge everyone to comply fully with the relevant regulations and restrictions, as this is essentially to prevent the unnecessary spread of the disease. The economic impact of the foot and mouth disease is significant, affecting not only our agricultural sector, but the broader economy as well. It is thus critical that we all adhere to these measures and offer unwavering support to the sector. Let us act with responsibility and unity, ensuring that together we protect our livestock, our economy, and the livelihoods of our communities. The following three priorities, amongst others, are funded over the MTEF period: the Land Care Support Program, the Farmer Support and Development, Veterinary Services, Disaster Responses, Agricultural Education and Training, Environmental Affairs Program. My fellow colleague, MEC Rockman, will also elaborate on the initiatives, priorities, and funding strategies aimed at enhancing our provincial road network. The Department of Human Settlements. The department is allocated 1.1 billion in 2026-2027, 1.2 billion in 2027-2028, and 1.2 billion in 2028-2029. In total, The department is estimated to spend more than 3.6 billion over the 2026 MTEF period. Conditional grants allocation for 2026-2027 financial year, which are already included in the allocation, amounts to 892.5 million. Honorable Speaker, the department is primarily entrusted with the vital responsibility of providing sustainable and integrated human settlements across the province. Beyond this mandate extends to ensuring that there is increased access to basic services, a cornerstone for improving the quality of life of our people. Over the MTEF period, the department will focus its resources on the following key priorities: the provision of human settlements needs, ensuring that citizens have access to adequate, safe, and well-planned housing; upgrading of informal settlements, transforming these areas into dignified, serviced, and fully integrated communities. My fellow colleague, MEC Mukwena, Budulo, my son, Bekele Beke, will provide more details in his departmental budget vote speech. The Department of Economic Development and Tourism. Honorable Speaker, the department is allocated 533.3 million in 2026-2027, the 542.8 million in 2027-2028, and 550.1 million in 2028-2029. Over the 2026 MTEF period, the department is estimated to spend more than 1.6 billion. It is important to note that these allocations reflect a substantial decrease of 183.8 million in 2026-2027, 196.4 million in 2027-2028, and 203.4 million in 2028-2029. This reduction is due to the shift of the environmental affairs programs to the Department of Agricultural, Rural Development and Environmental Affairs. Honorable members, the department has a critical mandate, which includes, among others, driving economic development as well as tourism development and promotion within our province. The responsibility extends to overseeing the provincial public entities, which are themselves key players in stimulating and sustaining the provincial economy. In support of this mandate, the following priorities, amongst others, are funded over the MTEF period: economic development, including support for small, medium, and micro enterprise; tourism development and support; transfer to the provincial entities that are instrumental in driving the growth and the development. These priorities are essential not only for the strategic growth of our province, but also for ensuring that our communities experiencing tangible economic benefits. Honorable Speaker, the same will apply to the MEC of Finance, Economic Development and Tourism. He will provide details of priorities funded in his budget speech. The governance cluster. Honorable members, the budget allocations to the Office of the Premier, the Provincial Treasurer, and the Provincial Legislature will enable institutions to effectively fulfill their respective oversight responsibilities. Through these allocations, they will better position to monitor and support the implementation of budgets and related priorities by provincial departments and public entities, thereby strengthening accountability, transparency, and efficiency use of the public resources. The governance cluster is projected to spend more than 5.7 billion over the MTEF period ahead. The Office of the Premier. The department is allocated 658.3 million in 2026-2027, 656.2 million in 2027-2028, and 655.5 million in 2028-29. In total, the Office of the Premier is estimated to spend above 1.9 billion over the 2026 MTEF period. The allocation includes the 10.064 million for implementation of the early retirement voluntary exit programs as provided by the National Treasury. COGTA is allocated 483.5 million in 2026-2027 and 476.2 million in 2027-2028 and 485.6 million in 2028-2029. In total, the department is estimated to spend more than 1.4 billion over the 2026 MTEF period. The budget provides for, amongst others, the Disaster Management Municipal Support Program and support for water laboratories in municipalities. The provincial treasury is allocated 403.9 million in 2026-2027, 411.7 million in 2027-2028, and 421.4 million in 2028-2029. In total, the department is estimated to spend more than 1.2 billion over the 2026 MTEF period. The allocation provides for state information technology agents costs, Operation Clean Audit programs, municipal support programs, and strengthening of oversight role. The allocation includes 6.5 million earmarked for implementation of the early retirement and voluntary exit for applicants that have been approved by the National Treasury. The Free State Legislature is allocated 339 million in 2026-2027, 380.9 million in 2027-2028, and 408.4 million in 2028-2029. In total, the provincial legislature is estimated to spend above 1.1 billion over 2026 MTEF period. The allocation to provide for public participation, constituency allowances, and political party funding. The clarion call for the world peace. Honorable members, as I move towards conclusion of our speech, it is important to state upfront that the current geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, including attacks on oil, shipping routes, and facilities, and the possible closure of the Strait of Hormuz, are already affecting the global economy, including South Africa. South Africa is a net importer of oil and highly trade dependent. The impact on economic projections, supply chains, fuel prices, and inflation is already significantly high. The world does not need war. We do not need violence or destruction. What humanity truly requires is the courage to resolve our differences peacefully through dialogue, negotiation, and diplomacy, said the Honorable Deputy President Paul Mashatile of South Africa. The Deputy President, in his eulogy for Ntatelekota, further emphasized that Ntatelekota espoused this conviction, and I quote, that dialogue is stronger than division, that reconciliation is greater than retaliation, and that peace is the highest form of justice, close quote. Honorable members, we present this budget as a means of unlocking opportunities for the poor and the need in our provinces. Unlocking opportunities means ensuring that entrepreneur is not left behind, that no child goes to school on an empty stomach, and that no community or village is excluded from the promises of prosperity. As a province, we have committed ourselves to building a society in which, once opportunities are unlocked, they become a foundation for uplifting the standard of living of our people and advancing the pursuit of equality and shared responsibility. Honorable members, peace is not possible without prosperity, and prosperity is not possible without opportunity. Unlocking opportunities for our people is and it must remain the urgent task of our time. I want to repeat this. Peace is not possible without prosperity, and prosperity is not possible without opportunity. Unlocking opportunities for our people is and must remain the urgent task of our time. It is for this reason that we make a clarion call to the leaders of the world to prioritize peace over profit and to invest more in life than in war. This is our clarion call for peace in the world and in our province. In conclusion, I wish to extend my sincere appreciation to the Premier, Queen Letsoa Matai of the Free State, for her steadfast stewardship and leadership. I also wish to thank members of the Executive Councils for their unwavering support throughout the budget engagements and bringing this process to to its final or successful conclusion. My appreciation goes to the Honorable Speaker and Deputy Speaker, members of the Free State Provincial Legislature, their respective portfolio committees for their thorough scrutiny of the appropriation bill and their constructive criticism, which has helped shape the provincial budget in the right direction. I extend my gratitude to the officials of the Free State Provincial team, as well as officials from the other provincial departments and entities for their continued dedication and support through the budget process. I also wish to express my sincere appreciation to the citizens of the Free State for their valuable contributions through the tips for the budget initiatives, as well as for their continued support and engagement. Lastly, I express my deepest appreciation to my family for their constant encouragement and unwavering support. I hereby table the following documents before this August House for your consideration: the 2026 Free State Provincial Budget, 2026-2027 Free State Provincial Appropriation Bill, and the 2026-2027 the People's Guide for the Budget. I wish to thank you all. Thank you.
What does the Honorable MEC propose?
That the bill be referred to the Portfolio Committee on Public Accounts and Finance, as well as Budget Oversight Committee for consideration and report back to the House.
Any discussion? Any objection? Approved. The bill stands referred to the Portfolio Committee on Public Accounts and Finance, as well as the Budget and Oversight Committee for consideration and report back to the House. Honourable members, this brings us to the end of business of the House today. Before we adjourn, let me make the following announcements. Immediately hereafter, the MEC for Finance and Economic Development, the acting HOD, and the 5 learners from the budget competition need to assemble below, just in front here, for interviews, and they will be directed where they need to go. The honourable members and guests are invited for a lunch at Floret Hall. Ushers will be available to direct all of you. The House are now adjourned until further notice. The House is adjourned.